Hello, everyone. Welcome you all to APBA webinar. APBA means Asian Polyurethane Business Association. And today's webinar is focused on the conversation on poly applications and new opportunities. And our invited guest is Mr. Jayant Kadilkar, who is the managing director of the J Elastomers based in India. Our host is, of course, Mr. Stefan Hermes, the chairman of the APBA. So it will be nice interaction between Stefan and Jayant to discuss all about the polyurethane industry, what are the applications, what are the opportunities are there. And as Stefan is specialist on the PU phones, Jayant is a non-PU, an elastomer phone. So it's going to be a good conversation. Before we get started, I think it's nice to see the J elastomers profile for the benefit of everyone to understand what the J elastomer is all about. So let's have a look at the slideshow on the J elastomers. So you'll also experience some Indian music as well. So let's get it. Okay, that's about J elastomers. You can see wide range of products, wide range of innovative products from elastomers, and also lots of recognition for their innovative product with awards and certificates. So without further ado, let join me to welcome Mr. Jayant Karinkar and Stefan Hermes. And over to you, Sir Stefan. And guys, you can always ask questions during this conversation, and I will pass these questions to Stefan, and they're put in the conversation. So it's not only a conversation between Stefan and Jayant, but also with you as well. So please post your questions or any points that you want to discuss with the two gentlemen. So Stefan, over to you, person.
Thank you. And thank you, James, for sharing this presentation with the wonderful music. That was very nice to hear. It's always a pleasure to hear the positive sounds of Indian music. I like it.
Thank you.
So thank you, first of all, for joining and taking the time to do all this, because it is not just taking a webinar and then starting to take the video. It takes quite some preparation. And I know you have put some effort in it. And so I'm hoping your family is okay with that, and they don't mind you taking that personal time to invest in us. Being the chairman of the APBA, I am fortunate to being able to meet with a lot of different people. And we also met, I think, some time ago already. And now we finally get to talk a little bit more in depth about yourself. I know that you have been active in the polyurethane industry for quite some time. So why don't you take us back to when it started? How did it started? And why are you still in this area and in this industry for quite some time? Go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you very much. And thanks, Prem, for giving me this opportunity to introduce. And of course, Stephen, you have made it really comfortable to address this kind of webinar. The polyurethane, you are very much expert into that. I know that very well. Various things you handle in commercial way also. That is more important. I'm basically an organic chemist, and I started my career with a pharmaceutical company on the shop floor to make the basic drugs, rather like that. And then all the time I was having in mind that someday or other I want to start my own industry. But which industry? Of course, normally it becomes that time a person becomes clueless. But to start the chemical industry, probably out of question if you don't have funds. So something was yet to get clicked. The one day it happened that one of the contractors who was coming regularly to coat our reaction vessels where we used to handle chlorosulfonic acid and thionyl chloride corrosive chemical, they used to apply some chemicals and get away. Within 6 days, another time, some new person used to come and again apply the same. I thought it's a very good business. Every 6 days or 10 days, you have to do the recoating, and we can't get away with the chlorosulfonic acid. So we have to do the coating. I said, this is going to be a paying business. But instead of making the application for 6 days or 10 days, if I lengthen the life, if I enhance the life period by doing some research with using some chemical, but then what is that? Then somebody suggested maybe a lot of work has been done with epoxy. Then I was connected with Premium Engineering and Technological Institute in Mumbai, UICT. So there in the laboratory and their colleges, professors are discussed. Then the polyurethane was told. This is the way back story of 1985, 87. So not many people were aware about the polyurethane. The material was not available. And with the name isocyanate, people used to get frown. No, no, this is not our subject to be handled. And in fact, I had a lot of resistance from my own family too. So we did some work with the water dispersible materials which was given to us, and some trials were made, some waterproofing coatings were made. And then I was doing this. I said, let's put aside this polyurethane isocyanate business. Then opportunity came. One gentleman, where we were doing the waterproofing, the gentleman said, we have to have the noise insulation using polyurethane foam. There is a drama theater down below, and there is a kitchen on the top. So in between, we have to create the noise insulation. The noise insulation, there will be a top of it that some stone will be there, some movement of vehicles, the trolleys will be there. So you have to keep in mind. And the gentleman was none other than Mr. Barjur Mistry, who created the Tata Theatre, NCPA Theatre, and number of auditoriums in the world, not in over. So I was having a lot of pressure. Then we did some work on this, and then we made a model and really performed that polyurethane foam of rigid density. I think, Stephen, it is your domain, but I just encroached that time, sometime year back. And we did good work. It was a combination of semi-rigid foam, and still after 35 years also it is still sustaining. There's no need of repairs because it happened to have those all three were sound insulation, waterproofing, and the heat resistance also. So all the things were achieved. So that was the basic entry. And then polyurethane was the foam was given to me. Then I said that what are the other applications of foam? Then one company came and forward for them capsule kind of thing to be coated with. And the company was I can name here, they are Philips. And then I said, I don't, so tempting, I must develop this material. So we developed that coating material on the roll for the printing for printed circuit boards. That was something idea was there. And we developed successfully. So that is how from coating to foam to elastomer, I made an entry. And then after some time, I felt that, yes, this is the field of what I was looking in the dreams. And let's take it forward. So that's how it is.
Yeah. Of course, a lot of different areas where you have been busy with. That's clear. So now, when you look at the presentation we just saw, you still have quite a broad spectrum of products, all in the, let's say, elastomer corner of the PU industry. What are when you set up the company, right? You start with a company, you finally have the time to make something your own. What were the challenges at that time?
The challenge was, initially the product which I mentioned, like foam and the resin or elastomer roll. So those days, I was not having my own company. I was trying to do the job for somebody else. It was one company where developing some resins on the basis of monothane and duothane kind of elastomeric system. And they were using some printing rollers, and I picked up. The day it happened that we were doing labor job or the contract job. And one day it happened that I produced so much quantity beyond expected quantity what was the owner was looking for. And he called me one day. He said, that, please take away everything. Have you brought the truckload? Then you take away everything. Then he gave me all these things and everything. And it happened like one day there was a transformation. I was doing the contract job, and second day I was the owner of one company. And then it was too much of thing for me to think of the growth. Then the thing where that why the company has given me, because for them this volume or turnover was very less, and for me it was too much. But then to establish and put my footprint as my own product, it was very difficult. Then I saw this line. It may be declining after some time. Printing rollers may not have that volume. Some new technology will come. So I decided to enter into some other areas where the abrasion resistant material as polyurethane is known. Why not to enter into that? But the main hurdle was the curative that is called muka. and being a very high carcinogen, then to whether to handle it or not. And then it was a big question. Then with the help of my colleagues and my classmates and my technical people, we could create an environment which is having good amount of exhaust fans and the airflow systems, and all these hiccups were rather neutralized. We decided to do multiple products from there onwards, keeping foam completely out of our scope and only concentrated on the elastomer. And that day really it happened because the field was really growing. People were not knowing what is the meaning of correct hardening, what is the meaning of tensile strain, tear strain, compressive strain, and so many mechanical and properties. People were other not aware. So people used to come with the product. Can you do this? Having no clue for the, so we had to do the reverse engineering and then do the lot of work and find out the correct material. The material also was immediately available. There was no resin supplier in the country, our country, India. Material was to be called from some other sources, and minimum quantity used to be required for 1 ton. So many challenges were there to make a growth plan on proper as a roadmap. But we did it.
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand. Just clarification question. You mentioned MOCA. What is MOCA? Because I'm not familiar with that acronym.
It is a chloroaniline derivative. So that is a material which is required as a cross linker when there is a polyester polyurethane or polyether polyurethane is used. So you have to cross link the material with this MOCA. And there are other materials. There is not, so MOCA is the only material. All the hydroxy terminated or amine terminated materials are used as a cross linker, the chain closer, whatever you can name it. So MOCA is one of them because if you use MOCA, the tensile strain, the tear strain, and other properties, they are go very high, especially because of the chlorine content in the product. The temperature resistance is also on the higher side. So MOCA be considered as versatile, but it has been slowly banned in Europe and America. Nobody uses MOCA, and the alternative materials are being still sought in. So here the technology has taken a change on MDI-based materials where rather people were looking for, and MDI and other cross-linking materials were used. But the being the reaction mechanism or kinetics is on the speed and other was difficult. So that was required to be handled by machine. MOCA one could handle with the hand process. So that was the advantage for us to begin with and establish ourselves in the polyurethane industry.
Okay. Okay. So when I looked also at your presentation video, it's clear that you have a lot of focus on development of new products and new systems. What are for you the most significant ones from a technical and from a commercial perspective?
When as we were doing and some other things, there was a time when I was to do a presentation at the American Chemical Council CPI polyurethane in 2006. Their time company who is making the steel products, they wanted to do the applicator rolls to be used for their color coating lines. And one gentleman from their company came to us that, can you do this manufacture in India, applicator rolls? Currently, they are manufacturing from America, and this is the product. I think we should do it. That the smaller versions I wish to do. That, but the big product having 50 kilos of materials and which require a lot of other machinery, whether it is possible or not, I was not sure. Then they said, why not to visit when you are going to anyway going to America, visit the XYZ person in Germany and talk to him, and probably he will help you out to get the proper material. Then, of course, I could not beat him, but I met him at America during my presentation, and I asked him this whether this is possible. I said that only it is possible. Everything is possible. You have to have the conviction, you have to have the passion, and you should not turn back even if there is a failure. So I was not knowing why he said so. But when we started doing that, I encountered so much of problem because in Mumbai especially, the humidity percentage on the every day it is around 50, 60%. And in the monsoon it is 98%. So isocyanate and moisture, they don't go along. So normally our the polyurethane roller used to have infested with the bubbles, and they were not expecting. So if I tell you today, it is really shameful thing to utter also. I used to supply 10 rollers and I used to reject 6 rollers. So those were the days I was about to give up. Then he said, then I approached the same person. I said, no, I'm tired. I cannot do it. You better import the material. He said, then look, Jan, if somebody has become successful, you are away from success by little means. So you are 98%, but that 2% is going to be really challenging for you. If you give up, then the whole 98% success is gone. Now it is up to you. I am there to support you. 4 years also, which I am accepting, they are also not good quality, but still I am encouraging you. See, those were the words that you should not go back, look back and pursue your dream. So they gave me, and then I became really successful. When the gentleman from American company came over here, he was so surprised that oh, I could do the roller within shortest possible. Say in 2 years, I could turn around the bubble roller to the no bubble roller.
Yeah, I think it's always good to look at the situation where the glass is half full. Even if you have some failures, means you also have a lot of good products, right? So yeah, there's always two sides to that as well. And in this case, I think not giving up is important in development of new products and new markets. It's an important aspect that you need to have, and otherwise, yeah, you will not succeed. So I think that kind of brings me also a little bit to the next topic, which is also looking at your presentation. But I knew that also from our previous talks that sustainability is an important aspect in your career, in your company. And you're already very much promoting the usage of biopolyols, for example.
Yes.
How do you see that for the industry? Are we adopting the sustainability in the right and in the best way that we can, or can we improve there?
Since my early days of foam making, rigid foam making, which I explained to you, those days I tried in a small way castor oil being used for the foam making foam. And those days I was convinced that this chemistry wise, in the nature, there are multiple hydroxy terminated materials are available. And any hydroxy terminated, dihydroxy or multi-hydroxy material, like starting from the sorbitol and even a sugarcane bagasse, everything which is having the hydroxy combination, which we can cross-link with the isocyanate and can create something. What is that something? If it is foam, then it is usable. If it converts into the powder, I used to test it for the solvent resistance or acid resistance. So similarly, another thing I found out is the cashew nut shell liquid is another versatile material, which there's a carbonyl, the basic structure, which is very important because it is a phenolic structure from the chemistry point of view, and it may probably help to get the proper acidic resistance and temperature resistance. And really it worked. We tried some formulations and then perpetual foam along with using this mixture of biopolyols. And then we did some elastomeric material. Right now we have developed a special sealant for pickling acid process in the steel plants that the tiles are to be joined. We have developed the special sealant out of this biopolyol. So this bio is going to stay for a longer time as the fossil fuel and the black gold, whatever is being called today. Though it is likely to get diminished or the prices are going up, or some countries who are not having access to this black gold and they have to import everything. For them, I would definitely have the message that please grow these trees. This is, you can have the fruits and then extract the oil. By the way of planting the trees, you are helping to the circular economy. So the making the material out of biopolyol has got multi-dimensional facet and you can really use it. So we did some trials with the biomaterials. They are so flexible and they are so smooth. I personally felt that this looks like a skin and this is the artificial leather kind of thing. So I suggested my friend who is away from where I'm getting material from Korea. So I've told him that this is a natural. It looks like a natural leather as compared to the you what pure leather you are making and selling. So there is another option in the by available. So when we are talking about what types of resins are available in the market, especially with polyurethane, people only used to talk about the polyester resin, polyether resin. Then there came polycaprolactam. Then there came polycarbonates. Now I said there is another material which can be used as a biopolyol, and it is a more sustainable. Well, it is biodegradable. As such, plastics is labeled as they can be degraded in 50 and 100 years is the life they determine. But the chain, biodegradable chain, if you attach with isocyanate, probably that will degrade a little bit faster. As such, nobody knows, but definitely it will be lesser than 1500 years. So
Mm.
we can definitely talk about that. It has got a chance to get biodegraded material, and it will be
Mm.
saving the a lot of energy in dumping or incineration or method which you are using to achieve. But more or less, biofuel got future that much I can say over here.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you that there is definitely a future in biopolyols. Within the foam industry, it is also being used from different types of natural products, not only Castor, but also from others. The one thing that always has been a little bit, let's say, tricky with using biopolyols is the odor and the VOC content. So one doesn't go without the other, but the odor sometimes gets overwhelming, and that not necessarily helps in applications which are having the whole purpose of providing comfort, i.e., furniture and of course bedding products. I'm assuming that type of issues are less important in the final products that your company is making.
Yes, the castor oil, when you convert into, say, if alone castor oil you use, there is a limitation because some other properties which you are designed. If you are looking for a customized product, and if you use alone castor oil, or even cashew nut shell oil, or even sunflower oil, whatever may be, there is a limitation, and you can't get the desired property. If you are on the customer side, probably you have to do something else. So when we coupled it with some polyethers or some other materials, and then this odor problem and other problems were less. Of course, you can always say that I'm doing the industrial products. So people are not looking at the odor and the color basically. Only somewhere we have to give the UV light stability and other things when if your products are
Yeah.
being used outside. So those are because the darkening of the product is a issue. But then masking with a proper color is also another solution which we have rather offered.
Yeah, I know about the masking techniques, but yeah, okay, I understand in the industrial applications that you have, this is not really the main issue. But on the other side, what are the main properties that the main physical properties of your product that are important? You mentioned a couple already, but what really stands out for an elastomer?
Properties basically. And now here one more thing I wanted to say. I was told by somebody that naturally occurring fragrances, the flower extracts, if you mix with your kind of products, polyurethane where they are offensive in the odor, so probably they will improve. If at all the upholstery you are going to use in the bedroom, so naturally you require
Yeah,
exactly.
agree. In the past, we made lavender foam, but to be honest, in order to make that fragrance last for a longer time, you need to do quite a lot of steps, like, for example, micro encapsulating or something
Correct.
else to make it
Yes.
and to make it not smelling only for the first 2 or 3 months or weeks. So you need to do something to set free the essential oil or the fragrance oil or whatever it is. And micro encapsulation is then definitely a possibility, but yeah, I'm not sure if that is so sustainable, to be honest.
Yeah. Because my friend suggested me on the basis of when he said that now detergent is available, utensil cleaning soap is available with the lemon flavor. Why not you do something so that your product can immediately have some kind of fine odor? Then the other part, when we used to use mocha, sometimes people used to feel really there is something different and why you are used in offensive material. So we are really careful about using mocha also
Of
in some
course.
of the products.
It is a little bit in the same sense and probably chemistry wise also not too different. In flexible foam, they used, or unfortunately some still use, a lot of metal chloride or MC. And any opportunity I have is while I'm presenting or speaking or somewhere, I'm saying, listen, dear people, stop using MC. Please stop it. Anyway, I have the opportunity now again. So everybody that's listening, stop using metal chloride in your foam, please. Thank you. Okay, you mentioned some of the properties already, I think. Of course, yeah, in the development of new products, obviously as time goes on, new technologies come out, new research is being done. So how do you keep yourself informed about all these new developments from a, let's say, scientific perspective? Because there are, obviously. So how do you do that?
Basically, from beginning, I know that there's a good role academia has to play and institutes, research institutes in India. They have got a lot of information stored in the form of libraries and probably some of the professors who are taking up the PhD or the master's students. They have to keep abreast with the latest projects. So sometimes it used to happen that some college professors used to ask us, I want to send one of my student to your lab and they are going for this product. I said, but I don't know the background and head and tail of this. So to know what they want to do it, present it in the future world and for their PhDs or the degrees, I had to learn what is the real requirement and why they're sometimes using that particular knowledge and visiting their chambers in their respective universities. I used to collect that, yes, this reaction they have designed on paper. But I used to say with my experience, no, this is not possible. This reaction will not happen. Even if it happen, it requires some kind of pressure, but it will be sticky, something like that. Then what has happened is out of listed some reactions, some they used to drop, some new things to do it. And this conversation and paperwork used to increase my knowledge as well. So to beat the professor, I had to do the lot of work. Forget that time Google and other artificial AI was not available. So you have to learn the books and like the Heaven, I remember, autobiography. They are really masterpiece of your library. And you can easily refer and find out and you go very closer to. I think they have thought of almost all the applications of in earlier years since the 1970s. Autobiography has written this book. And I could find that some of the clues, rather, I won't say that it's the solution, the clues were given. And we have done it. Another thing happened with when I did the presentation at American Chemical Council CPI conferences in 2006, 2020, 12, 16, 14. I used to carry a lot of pressure in there is a crowd of different nature, all researchers, all PhDs, different backgrounds. If some question is asked and if I don't able to answer, I can't say that, okay, I'll ask somebody and I'll tell you next day. And you are all away with 30,000 kilometers from India. So you have to prepare. So preparation, homework became the passion for me. So that has helped me a lot even today. Before coming for the interview also, I had to prepare a lot for last 2 to 3 days.
And that's what I said. I mean, it's not just making a recording and talking here for an hour. There's quite a lot of legwork that has to be done before we even sit here in front of our respective cameras. I think that is much appreciated. Of course, I told you already, and I hope that the people that are looking at our webinar also find it educational and at best. We talked a little bit about properties, and you mentioned just now also that you have lab that is necessary to make the new products or to test the existing products. How, how do you see quality in that respect?
If any product you take today, if at all, since our a lot of the focus is on the defense products which we are doing, and some of the nuclear products that too we are doing in supportive products other. So where the quality has to be, it is not only the certification what we have, but beyond that, every step, every material which we receive, we process and ultimately present for the to the product has to be quality oriented and it should be properly certified. And many times, the recipient, the customer may not be aware of what are the values, physical or chemical or mechanical values of the product are really required, or probably they are not defined. So what we do, we make 2 or 3 different products, formulations, and find out those values and submit the data to them prior to doing actual product. And then they discuss what is the nature of, say, suppose you have to develop a product which is to stand about 500 meters water depth. Then immediately it one strikes to my mind that it should be water resistant. So it has to be polyether kind of material. So when it is there, it should not be having any bubble, any issue, flow bar. The reaction should be 100% complete. And then the temperature also with that low temperature should work. So these properties I gather and note down that these are the inputs required very much. And from the quality plan, if the customer is already having quality plan, so do that QAP properly, add your ideas, and then make a master plan and address it. But without quality, without proper understanding of quality, rather, I think one should not go. It's a must that the product should stand to the expectation of the customer. It is not a trial and error. You can talk about a trial number 1, trial number 2, trial number 3, but there should not be any scope for error.
Right, I understand that, and I think the approach that you are taking, I I recognize that approach, technical foam side, because the technical foams usually have a lot of back and forth between customer and manufacturer of foam in order to get the right properties so that whatever component or whatever piece of material or foam material is being used then also performs the function as it should. That's an important aspect. And typically, I would say, looking at the type of products that you have, the product range that you have, they are all technical products and used in technical applications. There will be a lot of focus on the technical quality side of it and the properties of the material. I think that's quite logical, if you want.
Stephen, here I'll share a very nice incident over here. When we were asked to develop a lining to the rocket clamp, PSLV rocket clamp, the size was very big. And the customer said that lining is required only 5 millimeter. Then look, if you look at the rocket and its shape and from only distance only we see, and he said that the metal frame is there, but lining should be only 5 millimeter worth. And then before I could say, sir, this will be inadequate. And then one more thing you must understand. If you are lining, if it is vertical, if the lining fails and the rocket tumbles and makes it, such a big thing with 2 or 3 clamps it is holding, and if your lining slips down, you can imagine you are calling for an international disaster. Then I jokingly asked him, who has designed this 5 millimeter then? They said, yes, it has been well thought and designed, so don't challenge that. So now only think how to produce that 5 millimeter worth lining. So these are the compulsions. We have to think beyond your idea. What is not possible, you have to think of making it possible. You said somebody is doing, so you have to think in the direction that everything is possible.
Yeah, well, I agree, and that there's different aspects. This is a very clear one where the specification had to be spot on, and the tolerance level was probably extremely low. But I have an example from the foam is that talking about simple things like household sponges, right? Household sponges. So I think in the early days they were made out of polyester, whereas now they are more made out of polyether. And then you can think about it. Yeah, the polyether sponge obviously will last longer than the polyester, and be degradable by water and so on. The question is, what is in the interest of the customer? And then you start to think, and maybe the customer wants the sponge to be degradable faster so that he can sell another sponge. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, good one. But you can imagine, I mean, recently I had the same experience. Big coils are kept on the pads, rest coil, heavy coil. So coil resting pads were asked by one company. And we, myself, by one other director, we went to that company to see what kind of size and what is the load and frequency
Yeah.
and all that. And suddenly I recognized I had been over here for some years. Some changes have happened, but yeah. Then we took the one sample, and you'll be surprised. And I was also surprised. The pad was made by me only way back in 23 years ago. And now they were asking for the replacement. And jokingly, I told him that I made a big mistake, sir. This pad has lasted 24 years. I think I have lost opportunity of many repeated orders. Then what is said?
maybe too good.
Now another order he has offered me, another offer, and pre-conditions it is that it should minimum work for 10 years now.
Well, but at the end of the day, a product that lasts longer, going back to the point about sustainability, obviously for the sponges as well as for your coil holding products, it's better, of course, if it lasts longer. That it is more environment friendly, I would say. But sometimes it's conflicting with the commercial interests, unfortunately.
Yes.
I want to move a little bit towards India. And you worked out of India, in India for, I would say, most of your career, if not all. If you look at the elastomer industry in India, what are the strengths and half full, half empty? So what are the weaknesses of that elastomer industry in India?
So elastomer industry in India is regarding rather only few players are there, I would say, in case of elastomer. But there is a great scope for elastomer industry. Now applications as far as the rollers, or as rollers in elastomers were very well popular, and everybody knew then elastomeric rollers, they perform very well. Then there is a demand for some tires around the where the high abrasion is there. How we explain to a new customer the same thing, that it is naturally insulative material, doesn't carry any static charge, and having the high abrasion resistance. So these are the three varieties. So wherever there is a friction, wherever there is a carryover, wherever there is a other component which is a metal which is running over, probably it will give you the better life. So we in India, but this now elastomer setup requires a big area. When there are environmental norms are also very stringent. So to put your feet in, I mean, to make your mark as a manufacturer in elastomer, now certainly you require a big investment and big area to handle it. So those who are already in the rubber business, probably they are venturing out to polyurethane business as an annexure to their industry. But all alone, making a polyurethane elastomer is still difficult. Just if somebody wants to do only a sealant manufacturing, or only wants to do only the adhesive manufacturing, it is going to be a difficult job because the volumes may not be there to support the cost benefit analysis. But similarly, in case of elastomers, yes, there are a good number of applications are coming up. And as the steel industry grows, which where the high amount of abrasion is sort of, or the transportation or material handling equipments, where this thing is, this applications are growing up, where the elastomer industry in India also is on rise. And that I can definitely measure because I used to get inquiries from upcountry, and people never used to mind for the transportation cost, but they wanted the product. Now the quantity has become almost half because the good number of product producers are also there happened in upper part of India. So people want to have the local focus. See, people were not aware that during the car manufacturing, when the car body is painted, you have to keep it at a safe place. So you require a polyurethane pad. Even the railway wagons or railway tracks, you require a polyurethane pad. So these are the applications now are on incremental basis people are thinking of. And if you really introduce the good quality and good kind of material you give, whether it is more sustainable, take the example of railway pads. If you have to change every 2 or 3 years, and if you give the polyether pad and more sustainable load bearing capacity, probably it will work for more number of years. So the concept of downtime and replacement is less. So when people have realized that downtime should be reduced, and whereas the replacement cost is high, so that the inventory also can be reduced. At least this also the neighboring countries where the material is being sought. So those countries also coming up with us. Can you support us? Can you help us in putting a plant in our own country? So where we are also giving the help. Yes, some products definitely you can do it yourself because the day I produce the applicant rollers in India, some company, some country has definitely had a loss of that material only. So it is inevitable that you have to make the product in India so that you can be it will be more sustainable to your own countrymen.
Yeah, I can understand the push for be more close. Typically, the automotive industry always has more or less puts the pressure on their suppliers, especially tier one suppliers,
Yeah.
to be close in the vicinity in order to
Yes.
fulfill the whole just-in-time need and this
Yes.
whole line feeding activity going on. So that's understandable. But of course, as you said, setting up a plant for producing elastomers now takes up a lot of land, takes up a lot of time, and probably there's quite a lot of new government regulations that needs to be fulfilled. Rightfully, it's everywhere a little bit the same in all of the PU industry. This push for lower transport costs, lower impact on transport, and so forth. So localizing, resourcing is definitely a trend that we see in the whole industry, not only in the foam because of its volumetric material, but also obviously in the elastomer, which is less volume, but still. Speaking of the influence from government, now, how do you see the influence of industry associations? Obviously, India has a very strong polyurethane association. I was invited last month to be present on the expo, which I enjoyed quite a lot, and it was a good exhibition with good conferences and even better panel discussions. But my question to you would be, how do you see the role of industry associations and obviously specifically on the APBA?
Associations, rather, our Indian Polyurethane Association, like our APBA, they have to play a very important role because sometimes the material selling or material manufacturing or supply companies, though they are limited in the world, they have got a standard formulations based on their experience and the data sheet. Now, customer demand, customer requirement, and the uh, what is being offered by the standard companies, there what is the gap in between, that some consultant, some organization, somebody has to fill it up. So these organizations comprising of high technical group, probably they will be much more helpful. And especially in India, the big thrust on the MSME, that is medium and small scale industry is there. And fortunately this polyurethane business is a part of the medium and small scale industry, where this people look for the help from the academic side and from the association side, because some of the issues which are related to government policies, the only association can take up with the government and find out, like even the think of some tariff issues, think of some environmental issues. This alone person cannot be really doing the fighting to with any authorities, but you can be take up in the cluster manner, and the things can be situated. See, for example, if you want to encourage the polyurethane manufacturing, then I would personally recommend that the manufacturing plant should be quite away from the coastal lines, where the weather is always having a lot of humidity, and where the area is quite away from the coastal side, in between, and where the dry patches are there. There, polyurethane industry will really flourish, and it will be useful and meaningful. You did not have to do a lot of extra efforts for raising the plant. But these are the suggestions can be given only by the association and the people who are having expertise in this kind of area. So I personally feel that academic institutions and association, they really should work hand in hand to give support to the any individuals manufacturer or group of manufacturers.
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree with you on that. I think industry associations should be able to provide support to their members, to the industry, and as a whole. And sometimes that goes bilateral between members, and sometimes the association plays like a facilitating role in that sense. And that's also definitely the direction that we are taking through the APBA. You mentioned just now also the contacts with the government and local, national, any type of government, and specifically the point about tariffs. I saw in your presentation that you do have some exports, but I don't know if you are impacted by what is currently going on in the whole geopolitical world. Prefer not to bring politics into the discussion, although I did have quite a huge discussion going on LinkedIn this week with regards to East versus West. Typically, I'm not in favor of those kind of discussions because I don't see any benefit coming out. Who has leadership in the industry? Is it Asia or is it the West? I don't even know who that is. But never mind. My question to you is basically, what is your are you impacted by what's going on at the moment? And what is your experience working internationally, exporting your products?
Yes, truly, I would say this tariffs and especially this instability, I would say, luckily has not made any impact on us because my material, the formulation, everything is, especially the biopolymers are available within my country. So there is no issue. The isocyanates are now available in our country from the countries where the trade agreements are already defined and running in a very safe way. There is not much of change. Frankly speaking, I'm not impacted, but of late I have started, people have started asking us where our major exports are at East Africa or the neighboring countries to Gulf countries, and they are asking us whether if somebody puts more tax on your product inputs, so whether you are going to charge us, then they will be rather impacted if you make a long-term agreement and suddenly there is a change in the pricing, then who has to bear the cost? So that becomes a typical question. So now the things are happening that people are giving only small consignments. For every consignment, there could be a different kind of rate and tariff could happen. So people are a little bit skeptical about the prices. But luckily enough, I'm not impacted. I'm keeping my price, but I'm holding another thing and not change it and neither dropped it. So both ways, I'm happy right now with this situation.
Okay. I'm a little bit conscious of the time. We are already past the 1 hour. I think last point of our webinar for today, try to combine two points. One, you've been in the industry for quite some time, and so you have all the gray hairs, same as I.
No hair also.
what would be your advice for the younger generation?
These questions are normally asked to the person who is going to retire. But gentlemen,
I don't think you are, and I'm definitely not.
no, it is simple that global market, it's a global village now. Don't consider that you are to only do service to your country, because there are now more opportunities, that more advanced nation is more dependent on other countries for their product. So you have to keep that thing in mind, that always there is a market for you, and beyond your own region, there is a big market you have to explore that. And being using the AI tools and the marketing information, and of course taking the help like institutions like your APBA, our friend brands, technologies, and take part in the visit the exhibition, take part in the exhibition, where you should know that where you stand in terms of selling and buying. So these are the opportunities one should say. And I can say that person should be committed, be focused, and always look for the customized solutions. That would be my permanent say.
Very good, very good. Jan, thank you very much for your time. Then I'm going to ask our man behind the scenes, Mr. Bell from Technobiz, to see if there are any questions that came out from the audience.
Actually, there is one Mr. Rush Tyagi would like to share. He might like to have part of a discussion. Let me allow him to open his speaker. 1 second, please. Just a second, Grace. I mean, pass the. Yeah, there you go. Just.
Stephen, can I ask you in between?
Sure, go ahead.
There is another material which we are also thinking. It is called a syntactic foam. So it's a different material which normally is used in using this epoxy resin and glass beads, the microspheres, glass microspheres. This is required for the deep sea applications. We are trying to do this experimentation by using some high performance resins and using polyurethane as a basic material in combination with epoxy, in combination with phenolics and all that. Any person, any institute, or any industry would be interested in this, then I like to get associated with them.
Okay. Do me one favor and put it in writing to me, so
Sure.
that I have something to talk to, and I will have a look around and see if there are people in the area that I have that would be interested to talk with.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay. Nice.
Vikas, are you able to unmute yourself and you can speak now? Vikas. Vikas. Okay. In the meantime, there is one question from the audience. Let me share on the screen. Okay.
It's clear that's one for you. See the question?
No, I could not see the question.
Okay, so let me read it for you. It's saying, how is polyurethane rollers market in India, and what are new developments in this market?
Polyurethane roller market is really progressive. I am one of the manufacturer, so naturally I am very optimistic about it. It is growing, definitely growing. Then from the development point of view, I would say that people are looking for very specialized rollers. Roller is only a big name, But then you have to go down below, whether you require a solvent resistant, whether you require acid alkali resistant, whether you can is a pressure oriented role, or is it only abrasion, or is it rebound kind of that. So the more and more areas are getting opened up, and more specialized materials are available, which we are also incorporating. For example, we are associated with one of the company from Japan, where they have supplied us a novel material, and now we are supplying the ceramic embedded polyurethane rope. So it's a new thing for me. It was new thing for last 2 years to learn. But then we could successfully launch and take the advantage of the material, which is becomes highly abrasion resistant, and it is more sustainable. Inventory wise, it is less. The cost goes up, but then the downtime is also less. Then the replacement cost is also less. So you have to have the advantages in this particular field. So roller market is very promising and good. I hope Mr. Vikas, you are not going to be competitor for me. Then it is okay.
Okay, Vika, you can turn on your camera now. Yeah, turn on your speaker. Yeah, please go ahead, Vikash. Vikash, you can speak now.
Yes, Mr. Vikas.
I think we don't see him as a
He turned on his, already he has turned on his, that looks like there's some problems. Okay, let's move on. There's one question here. Can you please talk about latest regulations affecting the PU industry?
the latest regulations in India, or
I think it's general, so they're both in India and global. Yeah.
I think, Stephen, you can answer this better.
I'm not up to speed to all the regulations in each and every country. Obviously, that would be too much, but in general, the latest regulations are at this point in time probably coming from the sustainability perspective. So we have, of course, already existing regulations such as REACH and RUHS, depending on what kind of application. It's difficult to answer that type of question in a very generic way. If I look at sustainability, what I can say there is that new directives coming out in Europe, they are not really new, but it takes a lot of time before these EU directives are actually being adopted by the different member states. The way it works with regulations from the EU is that they are directives. It's not law. So each member state needs to make it part of their law and their legal system in order for this to be able to be effective. And that takes sometimes many steps. I looked at a specific directive regarding deforestation, which has a lot to do with the biopolyol, for example. 27 member states first need to appoint a government body, a government department, if you like, who is going to enforce this type of law. It has to be made law, so it needs to go through the normal steps in each and every country to become a law. Then you need the enforcement, because law without enforcement really means nothing. And then if you look at that specific one, which has an impact, as I mentioned, on biopolyols, and out of the 27 member states, only 24 of them have actually appointed a government body who is going to do the enforcement. And they are still now in the middle of getting the systems up and running, because in order to do this type of enforcement, you need to get information from the suppliers out of the EU to show that actually the product that they are making has a non-negative effect on deforestation in that specific country. So you can imagine how complicated it must be to even get that type of information from any supplier. Latest regulations, I think it would take a lot more than just one association to even oversee all of the regulations, let alone be able to keep up with the regulations. I think that will be my answer. Anything you want to add on that, James?
Yeah, I would say that you are talking about the regulation plus the materials regulations. But I'm also adding another point, which of course you also know that what about the waste management? The regulation will also be required to be done for the material produced out of polyurethane, and what next, where it will go, and how it will be addressed as far as the waste management, treatment, or disintegration, or whatever may be. Is there any international law or any law in any country has been already promoted or established? So that becomes a really question. But today or tomorrow, as you increase, this is going to be a problem. I heard that polyurethane foam scrap is a big problem in every country because it is lighter weight in material, and to convert pyrolysis or chemical, it is so costly. So what is to be done is it is going into the landfill. So tomorrow or day tomorrow it is going to burn, the big issue. So whether to insulate it, whether to convert it to some other tangible material, that is also to be seen. So this waste management could be also another challenge in the future or the near future.
Are you in a sensitive snare with me? So what I can say is, for those who are interested, join me in the PTIR in Shanghai in the next month, where this is the topic that I will be talking about. With regards to being expensive, I think that if you express it in either Indian rupee, US dollar, Thai baht, or Chinese RMB, yes, obviously the cost associated with recycling polyurethane are higher than just throwing it on the floor and making it into landfill or incinerating it and just simply burn it. But I think the point is, what is the cost of the
Yeah.
landfill in the next 40 or 50 years? I think that is something that we need to take into account on waste management at PU. Yes. Any other questions, Bill?
That's all the questions, man. That's all. Let's end the session here.
Thank you very much.
Then let me end this by thanking Jayant very much for his contribution for tonight, this evening. And once again,
To give the final message, can ask him to give the final message to the audience. Before
he already did that, but we can ask him again for sure.
Message is clear. Once we have taken up this particular polyurethane feed, be committed, be focused, always look for the customized solution and make them happy with your efforts and the products.
Very good.
Well,
And
for our company, we have got another, we call it the 3D concept. It is to make such product which should be durable, dependable, and the one which can reduce the downtime. So for our company, we have put that as a motto.
Very good. Very good. Okay. Thanks everybody for joining tonight. And maybe, I don't know if you want to take the last sentences of this webinar, Pedro.
No, that's all. That's all. Okay. Thank you very much, all. I hope this session is useful to you all. And I welcome you all to the next episode of the APBA webinar very soon. Thank you, Stefan. Thank you, Jayan, for being part of this today's episode of the APBA.
Thank you, Prem.